Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here,
And Adventure Blue Dude.
and welcome to 21st Century Music, the show where we analyze the hell out of all our favorite albums just for your entertainment pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Came up with that tagline off the top of my ass. Wasn't that just beautiful? Wasn't that just, like, magical?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about you, but I think that tagline is just as well written as anything in our in the album we are going to be reviewing tonight. In
Truly
the Aeroplane, Over the Sea. No, of course I'm being sarcastic. Oh god, we're off to a great start that way.
Yes.
Just like always. Fantastic. Okay, so, In the Aeroplane, Over the Sea. This is a 1998 release from the band Neutral Milk Hotel. Victor Blue Dude, any thoughts on this album before we just get right into it and dissect the hell out of it and kind of try to get to the core of why this is such a memorable listening experience for so many people?
It's wonderful and wonderfully fucked up.
Alright, well, you seem to be a man of few words tonight, but we'll see how that goes. So with that in mind, you want to just go track by track and kind of dig into this?
It's the easiest way to do it.
Okay, so I don't know about you, but I've got these lines memorized just by heart. So King of Carrot Flowers Part 1. Here we go. When you were young, you were the king of carrot flowers, and how you built a garden tumbling through the trees and holy rattlesnakes that fell around your feet, or something like that. Something like that.
That's about right.
Yeah, about right. Your mom would stick a fork right into Daddy's shoulder, and Dad would throw the garbage all across the floor as we would lay and learn what each other's bodies were for. This is a room one afternoon I knew I could love you, and from above you how I stepped into your soul, into that secret place where no one dares to go.
Yeah.
And your mom would drink until we were no longer sleeping, and Dad would dream of all the different ways to die. To want a little more than we could dare to try. I. I. A. Okay.
That was a very lackadaisical reading.
But what do you make of the lyrics? Because that's really what I want to get at here. So, first of all, mission statement. This thing's all about Anne Frank.
Or the Holocaust.
Or
generalized.
Generalized. Like Anne Frank and the Holocaust are kind of synonymous with each other, but
yeah.
I think King Carrot Flowers kind of represents Anne Frank's childhood before any of the Nazi shit started going down. What do you think?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Because it's like, like there might have still been some domestic issues. I believe Anne's mother and father, if I'm remembering this correctly, they were kind of having some disputes in the book, like, they weren't on the best of terms in their marriage. Am I remembering that correctly?
The last time I read it, I was 13.
Yeah, same here.
So I don't remember.
But if that was the case, that would kind of explain the whole, domestic abuse kind of thing that's going on in the background. Another theory about this album, though, is that it's kind of Jeff Mangum, and yes, I know the main singer of this band has a porn star sounding name. Get over it, people. Get over it, because he's kind of like the least porn starry guy alive, I'd say. But Jeff Mangum, he basically, like, imagine if this album was written like as the narrator is him, and he's relating back to events of his life, and then kind of relating those events to relates in Anne Frank's life. And so it's just this whole big kaleidoscope of Jeff Mangum's memories and Anne Frank's story. With a bunch of post-war, or a bunch of just wartime, World War II, Holocaust, Nazi shit going on in the background.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Do you think that's a little more kind of realistic than just a full-blown, like, hey, you know the Holocaust? Well, we got a rock opera for you.
Well, yeah, it makes sense, but also, like, I'm sure you've heard the story about, like, his recurring dream, where, like, I feel as though some of it was written.
Well, why don't you tell it?
There is a story that was told that in the Airplane Over the Sea, the album was written because Jeff Mangum, in his earlier days, was having a reoccurring dream. I forget what exactly the dream entailed, but it essentially made him feel guilty for the Holocaust. So,
Well, I mean, I think you're kind of simplifying it a little bit.
I
It's
am.
really like after he read the Diary of Anne Frank, and like he had really heard nothing about, it's like I'm sure he was like aware of what the Holocaust was and everything, but to get such a first-hand account of it,
Mm.
like really rocked him. You know what I mean? Like, because I believe he did like right around our age, like somewhere like in his. I could be wrong. No, he could have been a little older, but somewhere between his 20s and 30s, somewhere in that little tumultuous little time period between being a young adult and being a full-fledged adult. That's just absolutely terrifying, and I don't want to deal with it, but that's a different story. But I don't know, it's like, it's got to be that book. It's really like, that book is kind of the genesis, the basis for everything that came out of this album. And I imagine if he was having dreams about it, then I could kind of pick up how he could, because dreams by their very nature are kind of relating past experiences that you've had to things that you're thinking about. So in this case, I could see the dreams that you're talking about being literally representations of Magnum, of his sort of childhood memories kind of colliding with the Anne Frank stuff to kind of form this odd sound collage that we get. But, and then gotta love the bagpipes at the end of the song.
Yeah.
But this song really kind of sets up a pattern that's going to go throughout the whole entire course of the album. One song will be incredibly melodic and cheerful, at least on the surface level, not even into the lyrics. I'm talking just songwriting structure and, and just how up-tempo the actual song is.
Mm.
And then the next song will be just, for lack of a better word, just brutal, just kind of an assault to your senses. And so speaking of an assault to your senses, hold on, I should probably just get a sound clip. Hold on. I love you, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, I love you, yes, I do. Alright, so, let me ask you this, Adventure Blue Dude. The first time you listened to this album, what was your reaction to that section?
I don't fucking know. I mean, like, the whole album's kind of weird, but I'm not sure if that's the weirdest part of the album because it just kind of comes out of nowhere.
I would always argue that that is the most abrasive part of this album.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Besides maybe O Comely as a whole, because that whole song is basically like concentration camp, go.
Yeah.
But here's my take on it, and I find this really interesting. Like I would find it kind of hard to debate the placement of the whole "I love you, Jesus Christ" thing. Is imagine if you're part of Anne Frank's party, hiding out in the, in the attic or whatever, and there's just this fucking Nazi propaganda going on, anti-Jew sentiment, and it's just a big parade of people just going, "I love you, Jesus Christ."
Yeah.
And that's always what I take that whole "I love you, Jesus Christ" chant as, is sort of like an anti-Jew sentiment,
yeah. Yeah.
kind of like, you know, like kind of like ramped up to the extreme, like, you know, like just basically like kind of propaganda.
Yeah.
And then so basically like the first half of that song is the whole "I love you, Jesus Christ" thing, and then that kind of transitions into Anne's head. And the big theme of this album is Anne escaping into her own mind, which of course is obviously a big theme of the book too. And also a big theme of the book that I have to point out that's rather awkward, but I feel like we should touch on it, is the theme of sexual awakening.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because it's definitely there.
Yeah, it's a fun part of the book.
Oh, right. Isn't it just marvelous?
Yeah.
But without further ado, you want to kind of analyze some of the more sexually suggestive lyrics?
Sure.
You're like, all right.
Let's talk about sex. Okay.
Woo! Okay, well, just going on the one song that we did before, King of Carrot Flowers Part 1. There's that whole thing about we would lay and learn what each other's bodies were for. So, the disturbing thing about this is that I feel like it kind of vaguely suggests an incestual relationship.
Yeah, I've always wondered that.
Yeah. So has everyone else that's listened to this album with me. Because it's like, you know, you're talking about... you know what? I've always taken it as it's Peter. It's Peter from the Diary of Anne Frank, and that's why just the family bonds kind of just get mixed up, you know what I mean? Because it's like they're all in the attic together, and nobody is... It's just being cooped up in that sort of like, you know, caged environment like that, it kind of gets to you mentally, you know what I mean? So it's like, I always take that whole thing as sort of like the lines between family and lovers is just blurring because of the situation. Or maybe I'm just reading way too much into it. That could very much be a possibility. All right, so let's see. You want to get to In the Aeroplane Over the Sea, the title track?
Yeah.
All right, what are your thoughts on this?
It's definitely the most accessible song of the album. And it's a great goddamn song. Truly it is. Chord progression's simple. The rhyming and the metre are very, very simple. It's a simple song, but it's really effective.
I love the kind of ghost-like whistling that goes on in the song, like especially kind of in the later half, where it's, you know, it really does give you that kind of feeling of just like soaring. You know what I mean? Like, just like you listen to it on your iPod, and you're just like, you just be like, ah, do 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 do. Oh my God, it's so good. But let's see. Now, in terms of the Anne Frank shenanigans that we're talking about, I've always kind of pictured this as, I know there's passages in the book where she stares up at airplanes, and she fantasizes about what it would be like for her remains to be spread, you know, just all across the vast landscape, because like she feels like cremation is kind of like a second chance in death, you know, where your spirit gets to be spread throughout wherever you want it to be, and she finds like great solace and beauty in that in the actual book. So I feel like that's exactly what In the Aeroplane Over the Sea is actually about.
Yeah.
Which is depressing but beautiful, and it kind of just gives the song, you know, and like we said, like in the context of going from simple to brutal to simple, In the Aeroplane is definitely a simple song. You know, it's definitely just a catchy, full of melody. Like you said, the most accessible for sure. I guess this is a good time to get into the fact that, yes, I have seen Jeff Mangum live in person, and it was the greatest 45 minutes of my life, I'd have to say. I mean, no, seriously, it was just amazing. It was I'll kind of sprinkle in some stories about that concert here and there. But let's see. I guess to start off with, this was actually the encore, which, to tell you the truth, kind of predictable for an encore, because it's like, well, if he hasn't played it yet, it's like, of course he's going to play that song for the encore. But it's like, I don't know. It was still great. It was still pretty awesome. But let's see. In terms of the Anne Frank stuff, all I can think of is, those passages where she's daydreaming about the planes that are flying by and about spreading her ashes over the sea. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, really, and it's kind of brutal, but just expressed in a beautiful way. And then we get to Two-Headed Boy Part 1, and this is kind of one of the more confusing songs on this album, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. This one gets weird.
Yeah, it's when it's when it gets like kind of metaphysical.
Yeah.
This is where I think Mangum kind of splits his personality with Frank's personality a little bit, and that's kind of where I feel where the two-headed boy concept comes in, because I feel like throughout the course of the album, it's basically Mangum being like, just sort of captivated by Anne Frank and feeling like just incredibly guilty about the whole ordeal that she had to go through, and him physically kind of trying to communicate with her through the sheer power of music, which, if you appreciate what I just said, it just makes like the album itself just fucking incredible. Because it's basically just this guy's giant therapy session about Holocaust guilt. But I don't know, Two-Headed Boy. There's a lot of like kind of science fiction-y like mad scientist lab imagery here, like like a lot of just stuff floating in glasses and stuff like that. And I don't know, to me it's maybe like, okay, I think I got it, Adventure Blue Dude. I think I got it. What if Two-Headed Boy is Anne Frank and her fear of being captured and her fear of what the Nazis will do to her?
That's a bit of a stretch.
That's a bit of a stretch?
Maybe, I don't know. I feel as though it's a little bit of a stretch.
All right, fair enough. Well, I mean, first of all, before we get really too far into this thing, it's worth noting that the only man who truly knows what these songs mean is Mr. Jeff Mangum himself, and the man is an incredibly guarded person, so he is not going to be saying anything anytime soon.
Yeah.
So, as far as I'm concerned, our duty is to just take the Anne Frank thing and just try and fit it into as many lyrical holes as possible. Because that's what Jeff would totally want us to do, right?
Yeah. Of course.
Just analyze the shit out of his lyrics and just, because that's what every artist just loves. Oh, God. But I don't know. Two-Headed Boy, it's definitely a personal song for him, I think. Andrew Jackson Jihad, kind of a folk punk band, if you can believe such a thing actually exists. They do a cover of this song, and they do it pretty well. I saw them live, and they did not perform it, and I was fairly disappointed. And I was one of the people who was like, Two-Headed Boy! Two-Headed Boy! I don't know. Maybe they're just one of their acts where it's like, no, our band can't be defined by a cover. Okay, so Two-Headed Boy, I think it's safe to say that there's really no crack in this code, you know what I mean? It's just, there's just so much imagery going on here. It's really, definitely I think split personality kind of has something to do with it. Probably Jeff Mangum's mental state at the time, which was very, he felt very secluded, very depressed when he was writing this. So I imagine that kind of played a part in just sort of the isolation that this song kind of brings off. So, just a lot of contributing factors, I think. It's easily one of the highlights of the album, would you say?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's just like, it's just so brutal, you know what I mean? It just comes at you with just like, just like this depiction of just this poor, helpless little thing in this laboratory, and it's, oh God. It's almost kind of like Walking Dead levels of horrifying if you really think about what he's singing about.
Mm.
And then this two-headed creature is like writing love songs for a girl who will never love him back, and oh God. Really, it's kind of outside of the whole Anne Frank thing. It's really kind of, I feel like, it's that song in general is kind of like Jeff Mangum's personal therapy session.
Yeah.
But, all right, so then we get to the first instrumental, The Fool. What do you think of The Fool?
It. Which one is that? The one that goes, but or am I thinking of something else?
The Fool is the one that kind of sounds like a war march. Da 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 da
Oh, yeah, yeah.
da
Is that really a different song?
da.
That
Well,
is a
then there's
different song.
Untitled. There's Untitled at the end of the album, which is right before the last song on the album,
Yeah.
which is like. So, what do you think of The Fool? Just as kind of a
I.
nice transitional track.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm gonna generalize a little bit here, but all the instrumentals on the album,
There, there's
all two
two.
of them, all two of
Yeah.
them, they're. I mean, like, they're both really interesting, especially since the band is a trumpeter.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the French horns. The
Yeah.
French horns on this album just make this album.
Hmm.
It's worth noting when I saw him live, it was just him and an acoustic guitar, but
Hmm.
the crowd was able to round out the horn section,
Hmm.
and it was just amazing. During Ghost, it was just like da 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 da. Da 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 da. All right, you get the point. But that was just like, oh my God. And I was worried, like the whole time before the show, I was worried that I was going to get a crowd full of people who just weren't into it.
Hmm.
And instead, it was like the opposite.
Hmm.
It was magical. Okay, but really, I think The Fool, I can nail this one down. So why don't you tell me if I'm completely stretching here, all right?
Okay.
So throughout the first half of this album, oh, look at you going into your like psychologist pose. Oh yes. All right. So throughout the first half of this album, we've really had a lot of escapism into Anne's own imagination, specifically on songs like "In the Aeroplane Over the Sea," and also on things like frickin' King of Carrot Flowers Part 3, the
Hmm.
song that's kind of after the I Love You, Jesus Christ part. And really, it's been kind of a lot about hopeful optimism. And then this song comes in, which is just like, nope, the war's still going on. And, this war march is happening. And I just imagine the family, in the attic kind of hearing this war march playing. And I picture the fool in the song being Anne herself, who's now feeling foolish to have kind of dragged other people, specifically Peter, into her little fantasy.
Hmm.
So what do you think?
No, yeah, that's definitely
Plausible?
not. Yeah, it's plausible.
It's definitely not as much of a stretch as my two-headed boy interpretation.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so then we get to the song that opened the concert I went to, which was just magical. So just Mangum comes out. He's got, of course, the thick beard, the big, the big hat. Uh, he comes down, long ass, scraggly hair, sits down, picks up an acoustic guitar, kind of starts tuning it just a little bit to make sure it's tuned right. And all he says, he doesn't even look up. He doesn't even do like eye contact with the crowd or anything. He's just like, if you know the songs, then please sing along. And then he just burst into it, and it was just like, the only girl I ever loved was born with roses in her eyes, and then she dared her alive one year in 1945, was just her sister at her side, and all the week before the gun. You know, it was just like, oh my god, just a release.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, it was fantastic. So this song, I really believe, is kind of the farewell tour for Anne's presence in this album, because it is 1945 is the year that she died. I believe it's the year they got captured and taken to the concentration camps, so she's not entirely dead yet, but this song very much kind of hints at her death.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's interesting because it's kind of like a very, very uplifting song about the Franks being captured. Almost. That's kind of what I take it as. Because it's just sort of like, okay. And it's also, I kind of take it as like, it's another one of those songs where I feel like Mangum is kind of trying to relate the pain of Anne Frank back into his own life. So it's like, that's why he has the lines like, now she's a little boy in Spain playing pianos filled with flames on empty rings around the sun. The real just screams, our dreams undone. You know, stuff like that. Stuff that's just like very. I get the feeling like through lines like that, Mangum is kind of trying to convey that Anne Frank's spirit can potentially live on with everyone. Like she can affect anyone. You know what I mean? Like no matter if you're a little boy in Spain or like.
Yeah.
So just. And he's kind of making a very direct and very powerful statement about just the power that the written word can have over you, you know what I mean? And the power of another person's struggle. Mm. So I strongly feel that's pretty much what Hull in 1945 is all about. And like I said, it's kind of just a little bit of a precursor to Anne's death, which is going to come, I believe, in O Comely. But, all right. Any other thoughts on Hull in 1945?
Not really. I mean, like, it's a good song, but ultimately, it's the one that I've paid attention to the least, I suppose.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
That's surprising to me, because to me, I've always seen this song as like one of the more, shall we say, radio-friendly songs on this album. Like, I feel like
it definitely is.
I feel like this In the Aeroplane Over the Sea, and then like maybe to a lesser extent Ghost, are like the three that you could put out as singles.
Well, Hull 1945 was a single.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And I assume it came within the Airplane Over the Sea. Maybe? I don't know. Let's find out. What's on the A and or B side? I'll be damned, that's weird.
Does it say?
Engine.
Oh, Engine. Oh, yeah. That's a good song. You know that song?
I do not. I mean, I might have heard it. I don't know.
Oh, that's a good song. Like, Neutral Milk Hotel, they're one of those bands where it's like, they've only released 2 major albums, but they have a lot of demo stuff. You know what I mean?
That's a lot of what I've listened to.
Yeah, a lot of like weird like demo tapes and recordings that I don't even think were like meant to be proper albums, but just kind of got out. So maybe in a future episode we can talk about some of that more in depth, because there's definitely stuff to go into there. But let's see. So moving on, we've got the Seamen Stains the Mountaintops song.
Yes. Also known as Communist Daughter.
Yes. No, it's Seamen Stains the Mountaintops.
The Seamen Stains the Mountaintops song.
Seamen stains the mountaintops. The seamen stains the mountaintops. I'm sorry, I can't get over that. It's just here's the interesting thing about this song to me, though. When I saw Mangum in concert, he did not play the song. Other people that I was around were saying that they had gone in concert and he had not played this song. I don't think this song is on his touring itinerary at all, and it is the only non-instrumental or yeah, it's the only like full-blown song that isn't an instrumental that he doesn't perform off of In the Aeroplane,
Mm.
which makes me think that above any other track on In the Aeroplane, this is the one that's the most deeply personal to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like there's got to be some reason why he doesn't want to play this.
I mean, it's like the most abstract as well.
I'd say so. Yeah, it's interesting because it's one of the shorter songs on Aeroplane. Like you would think he'd be able to squeeze it into a set. I just think he straight up avoids it. I just think the lyrical content is something that's like way too personal for anyone that's like not in Magnum's inner circle to actually like understand or even be able to start to get. I don't know. I think he's really kind of sorting through some issues with the seamen stains the mountaintops lines. You know, it's definitely, I think that line is the most over-the-top sexually suggestive line in the whole album, would you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. There's some stuff in Oh Comely that we'll get to that's just... oh, God. But, yeah, in terms of going along with the Anne Frank thing, I always picture this, and I know this is a bit of a stretch, but I always picture, like, Anne Frank in the boxcars headed to the concentration camp, staring out over the mountains, and just one last glimmer of hope. Because, you know, keep in mind, the Anne Frank in the novel is kind of, you know, a big part of her character is sexual discovery, and also, you know, having that sexual experience before she died. So I feel like the seamen on the mountaintops kind of represents, like, I don't know. Oh, God, this is getting, like, uncomfortable to talk about. But, no wonder Mangum doesn't like to play this. But, I don't know. It's kind of just all about Anne just kind of holding on to I'm not gonna say it, but you know what I mean.
She wants the D.
Yeah. Okay.
About Anne Frank.
Okay, moving on from that clearly uncomfortable highlight.
I have to leave this place. I have to go now.
Oh, God. We get to another very uncomfortable song. I think the song that's just designed to be abrasive. And that is Oh Comely. I mean, it has the word come right in the title.
Yes, it does.
And I think that is very deliberate, my friend. I think that is very deliberate on Mangum's part. I could be wrong. Okay, Oh Comely. This is, like, to me, just the big concentration camp song. Would you argue any differently?
No, I would not. You're probably correct.
Because it's really kind of just all about being separated from your family, kind of just all this brutal detail about, like, you know, like, oh, God, I don't know. Let me pull up the lyrics really quick.
I have them.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Good.
Comely, I will be with you when you lose your breath, chasing the only meaningful memory you thought you had left, with some pretty bright and bubbly, terrible scene that was doing her thing on your chest. But, oh, Comely. It isn't as pretty as you'd like to guess. In your memory, you're drunk. On your awe, to me, it doesn't mean anything at all. Oh, Comely, all of your friends are all letting you blow, bristling and ugly, bursting with fruits falling out from the holes of some pretty bright and bubbly friend you could need to say comforting things near ear.
But oh,
Comely.
Comely.
There isn't such one friend that you could find here standing next to me. Only my enemy, I'll crush him with everything I own. Say what you want to say, hang for your hollow ways, moving your mouth to pull pull out all your miracles from me. Your father made fetuses with flesh-kicking ladies. While you and your mother were asleep in the trailer park. Thunderous sparks from the dark and the stadiums, the music and medicine you needed for comforting. So make all your fat, fleshy fingers to moving and pluck all your silly strings and bend all your notes for me. Soft, silly music is meaningful, magical. The movements were beautiful, all in your ovaries, all of them milking with green fleshy flowers, while powerful pistons were sugary sweet machines, smelling of seamen all under the garden, was all you were needing when you still believed in me. Say what you want to say and hang for your hallowed ways, moving your mouth to pull out all your miracle from me. There's two more. Oh, fuck. I know they buried her body with others, her sister and mother and 500 families, and she will remember me 50 years later. I wish I could save her in some sort of time machine. Know all your enemies, we know who our enemies are. Know all your enemies, we know who our enemies are. Goldaline, my dear, we will fold and freeze together far away from here. There is sun and spring and green forever, but now we move to feel for ourselves inside some stranger's stomach. Place your body here. Let your skin begin and blend itself with mine. So the second to last one was most definitely
by all means.
Anne Frank. The other ones, I probably.
Well, I mean, there's some stuff about like a trailer park, which to me almost kind of goes back to the first song, "The King of Carrot Flowers," where there's that sort of like domestic issue going on, which to me kind of like is kind of like it's Magnum kind of pulling this tapestry of, you know, things relating to his own life, connecting to things that are relating to Anne Frank's life, connecting to things that are happening all over the world. And Jesus Christ, like I said, as I described this album, it's like you get the magnitude of the lyrical themes that he's trying to pull off, and it's pretty fucking incredible, I think. Of course, we have the very sexually suggestive lines about ovaries and whatnot. So I must say, during the live show, that was a line that I kind of stumbled to get over because I was like, oh god, do I really want to like shout this at the top of my lungs? Because I was into it, man. Like, okay, no, the way you read it, first of all, is kind of an insult to the way that on the song Magnum, you know, on the parts where he's like moving your mouth to pull out all your miracles aimed at me, he does this incredible fucking thing with his voice, which I think is like the highlight of the whole album, where he's like moving your mouth to aim to pull out her, and then he goes like really high up. For me. And it's like I of course can't replicate it, but it's fucking beautiful, and he does it twice, and it's just it's haunting. And I can tell you, like I can easily tell you that is like the highlight of any Jeff Mangum live show is when he hits that high note on "O Comely." It's just like the audience is always just like taken aback by it. It's magical. Let's see, that and the "I Love You, Jesus Christ" transition. Because that always just sends chills, you know what I mean? Because it's like King of Carrot Flowers just wrapped up, and then it's like he's just sitting in the dark, you know what I mean? And it's like, and the crowd's just electric, and then the minute you hear him sing, "I love you, Jesus Christ," and the crowd's just like, "Jesus Christ, I love you. Yes, I do." Oh, that was magical, Adventure Blue, dude. That was a magical concert moment. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, I was so glad to be amongst people that actually knew the words. Okay, so moving on. Let's see. With "O Comely," yeah, I mean, it's just an epic song, isn't it? It really is just like, it's kind of just pulling like generations of pain and suffering into this one incident of Anne Frank's family going through the concentration camp. And I think it's kind of like, it's kind of relating just that universal pain that Magnum's kind of trying to get across.
Yeah.
So, anything else you want to say about this song, or should we move on?
Not really. We can
Alright.
keep on trucking.
Keep on trucking. Alright, so now we get to Ghost.
Yeah, yes.
Ghost. Yeah,
yes.
No, it's fine.
Patrick Swayze. Whoopi Goldberg. 1980, whatever the fuck. I don't know.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Who was the other chick? I don't know. They're doing stuff with clay. They got a song there. Oh my. Sorry.
Wow.
Sorry for all of this.
Yes, because that is exactly what Jeff Mangum was thinking about when he wrote this song.
I'm sure he was, to be
He's
totally
like,
honest.
God damn it, this is just so beautiful. I need
I'm
to
sure
my Anne Frank opus.
if you asked him, okay, Jeff Mangum, what was Ghost about? He's just gonna break down crying and say, I miss Patrick Swayze.
Oh, God.
Just walk away. Because that's the end of the interview. He can't answer any more questions after that.
You know what? That's exactly how I picture a Jeff Mangum interview actually going, so... Just if you ask him a personal question, he'll just, like, break down in tears. And now, I'm not trying to be rude to the guy, because keep in mind, he is, like, an absolute fucking genius. I totally respect the fact that he's out there touring around, even though he's clearly not comfortable in front of people. And I think that makes his stage presence all the more alluring, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The fact that, like, when he plays, it's like, it's 100% about the art. There is fuck all ego involved, you know what I mean? It is like the absence of ego when that man is on stage. Because he is just, like, you know, like I said, he's so humble. And he doesn't do it to be a dick. He does it just because he's humble about it. He's so humble that he barely even makes eye contact with the audience because he's just shy. So it's like, I'm just saying all this because it's like, I can totally relate to this guy on a pretty deep, visceral level. And I think anyone who listens to this music and who can fully, like, grasp onto it and can appreciate it, you know, it's like, this guy, he's been through some personal shit.
Yeah.
I mean, like, mostly he kind of went through a bit of a Kurt Cobain style freak out after In the Aeroplane Over the Sea got as popular as it did. And he just did not want to be that famous. So he proceeded to basically drop off the face of the earth and go into, you know, basically become a hermit. And that's what made the concert I went to all the more exciting, you know what I mean? Because it's like, suddenly it's like, I knew he was performing again, like, I knew he was touring, but even when he came out of retirement and was touring, I was like, oh my god, those, you know, it'd probably be so expensive to go and see a guy like that. I'm just never going to see it. And then sure enough, it's like, what? He's playing the Phoenix for $30? What? And so, yeah, obviously I bought the ticket and secured my right to have the most memorable night of my life. So there you go. Oh god, but with Ghost, this I believe is kind of the stage where the album shifts focus from Anne to Otto Frank, her father. And so I believe that this is very much kind of it's kind of Mangum and Otto Frank kind of simultaneously wistfully searching for the ghost of Anne. What do you think about that?
Let me pull up the lyrics again.
Okay.
And remind myself.
Are you gonna do it in your
No, I'm not gonna read it this time. We already had to suffer through that. No, yeah. Oh Jesus! And one day in New York City, baby, a girl fell from the sky from the top of a burning apartment building 14 stories high.
Okay, so you see that I kind of relate to, like, again, it's Magnum pulling from other people's suffering, other people's experience, weaving it into this tapestry of really one of the most famous examples of human suffering that there is, specifically, you know, Anne Frank and the Holocaust in general. And that's what I'm saying. Like, he's making this universal quilt of pain, but it's something that's so uplifting and inspirational at the same time. It's basically like, I don't know, it's basically like the title Aeroplane Over the Sea is like, all our fears, all our anxiety, all our sadness, all our suffering is kind of being tossed out in that aeroplane over the sea. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the cremation is kind of a metaphor for that. I don't know. I could be digging way into it, but but Ghost, yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that Ghost is definitely supposed to be like the ghost of Anne Frank, and it's haunting, and it's simultaneously haunting Otto Frank and Magnum and anyone else who reads this book. So yeah, anything else you want to say about that?
Not really.
All right.
At this point in time, yeah.
So then we get to Untitled.
Yes.
I take this song to just be basically just an end, just the war is over victory march. What do you think?
Yeah.
Like, who
seems...
the war is over and everything is awesome now. Everything is awesome.
Like more of like a transitional piece.
Well, yeah, it is a transitional piece for sure, but like what I'm saying is like the first transitional piece was definitely like a war march. You know what I mean? It was slow, plotting, very meticulous. With this, it's very, the bagpipe is like really at the forefront. Like there's just a bagpipe freak out on this thing, which I think is awesome. And it's just, like I said, it's just kind of unhinged celebration. I just get this very, like, the war is over, let's just fucking make out in the streets. Oh, God. Which leads us to the depressing finale, which is King of Carrot Flowers Part 2. Or, I'm sorry, Two-Headed Boy Part 2. I'm sorry. Oh, boy. So, this, again, is a very complex song lyrically. I feel like it kind of goes back to kind of being sexually suggestive of an incestual relationship. You know what I mean?
A little bit.
Because there's references to brother and sister and whatnot, just like there are on King of Carrot Flowers Part 1. I'm not trying to like be like incest. I'm just trying to get apart all the dark, weird shit that's going on. So and I think the very last line has such a poignancy to it, and it's but don't hate her when she gets up to leave.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, it's just like Anne's spirit will always be with Otto Frank. It will always be with the people who were affected by her through her words, through her writing, through the book that ended up inspiring this whole web of madness to begin with. But, life goes on, as they say, and, just the horror and terror of the concentration camps, while long since passed, will always be kind of this black mark on our history. So Anne Frank can kind of be just this guiding light through all the dark shit that's going on in our time. And, but in the end, there's stuff that we're going to have to face that's going to, I don't know. That's all I got.
Yeah.
What do you think?
This is my favorite song on the album.
Is it?
Yes.
Well, why is that?
Because it's very, very simple and very, very slow, but still very effective and very, very complicated at the same time. And then Jeff Mangum has a very wonderful bend in the song that I absolutely love. That's like one of my favorite parts in the album.
Well, we should talk about some of Mangum's vocal performance, because it's like he just goes nuts with some of these songs.
He does a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, like particularly, like let's see, we already went through the "I love you, Jesus Christ" thing, which is just abrasive as fuck, and yet turns into, like, the "I love you, Jesus Christ" thing. I feel is like the breaking point between if you're going to understand this album and if you're not. Like, if you're not into that, then I don't think this is the album for you. If you are into that, then holy shit, do I have a treat. The rest of the album is going to be fucking amazing. That's basically how it goes. It's like either people will get really perked up by the Jesus Christ thing, or they'll just be like, what the fuck am I listening to? So, I feel like that moment is kind of a good litmus test for potential neutral Mocotail fans. Now, let's see, what other... I don't know, it's just throughout the album, he's just like... One of the things I love about this song structure that he's got going on is that really, if you think about it, there's not really a whole lot of fancy wordplay going on. It's all very simple and straightforward and to the point in very blunt and brutal and direct ways sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
in terms of just the actual, like, vocabulary, it's all very much like, you know, surface.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Whereas I feel like a band like the Decemberists, where the Decemberists are clearly a band that was influenced by Neutral Milk Hotel. A band like the Decemberists, as much as I love the Decemberists, I feel like some of their songs can kind of get on the whole, like, oh, we're going to throw this crazy, you know, like, 4-syllable word into our song because it sounds cool and fits with what we're trying to say. And I don't know, it's like, I have a little more respect. Like I said, I'm not saying the Decemberists are a bad band, not by any stretch. They are, like, probably in my top 5 favorites right now, easily. But I'm just saying with Neutral Milk Hotel, just how Jeff is just able to just come up with, you know, just like just this whole tapestry. It's like, it's an amazing work of art. Would it be rather redundant to say it's among my favorite albums of all time?
It's not redundant.
Because, I mean, it definitely is. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say, like, this, number one, without question, but it's one that I just keep coming back to. It's like a fucking Disneyland ride. It's like you can keep going on it over and over and over again and keep hearing new things, new instruments in the background.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, there's all kinds of crazy music going on, you know, just instrumentally.
Yeah, but it's so simple at the same time.
Right.
Like, yeah, I can't get over how, like, Two-Headed Boy is literally 2 chords. No, I'm being dead serious.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
The song is B flat and F, and there's nothing else. And then in the Airplane Over the Sea, it's all 4 chords. But then the bridge completely changes, but still stays in that chord structure, but it's a little bit different. Same with Two-Headed Boy Part 2. Completely different song, same 2 chords.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, well, I mean, it's a little bit more complicated than Two-Headed Boy Part 1, but still, yeah. Like, it's accessible but inaccessible at the same time, and it's fucking incredible.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to put it. It's like, it's accessible in that the lyrics aren't very complicated, and the melodies...
the chord structure.
Right.
But at the same time, it's the most complicated shit you've ever seen.
Exactly. Oh, jeez. Okay. What would you give it out of 10? A good solid 10?
Yes.
Alright, same here, of course. 10 out of 10. Woo!
I didn't know we were rating our albums.
I know, I was about to say, I think this is the first time we've rated albums on the show.
Let's rate the other ones. Van Dyke Park's 11.
8.
You bastard.
Alright. What have we done? Hold Steady.
Hold Steady. 7.
Oh, you bastard. I give that like a 9.
There you go.
Alright. And then the only other one we did was the Wax Fang, right?
Wax Fang and Yoshimi. And the other Flaming Lips
Soft Golden.
Yes.
Alright, we'll go.
Wax Fang, I give an 8. The La La Land I give an 8. The Astronaut I give a 10. Stay tuned. And a few more videos when I force Tiki to talk about this son of a bitch.
Oh, he's been waving this in front of my face. Like,
I have been. I've been so excited. It's white vinyl. Take a look at this son of a... I apologize, everyone. But white vinyl is something that cannot go unnoticed.
Oh, that is sexy.
It's white. It's pretty... I'm turned on right now.
Oh my.
Soft Bulletin.
Make sure there's no strangers in the room, Adventure Blue Dude.
It's okay, I'm too smart for strangers. But that's a different series. Soft Bulletin, I'll give an 8. Yoshimi, I'll give a 7.
Alright, fair enough. You want to know my scores?
Yes.
All right, Yoshimi, 10. Soft Golden, 7. Wax Fang, about a 7.
Right.
All right, so fair enough. We're all caught up on the score department. Yeah.
We are. I've been calculating the score. So far, I'm winning by 2.
Wait, you mean score in terms of the albums that we recommended and I've recommended?
Oh my god, that was so beautiful. No, I don't know. I was just saying things to confuse everyone. That's what I do best.
Oh god. Oh Jesus. All right, so before we sign off, I have a couple more talking points about Neutral Milk Hotel. A, have you gotten a chance to listen to their complimentary first album on Avery Island?
I remember trying to, but I don't remember liking it.
It's
as
pretty
much.
abrasive. Well, I mean,
It's a little bit different.
It's not in the Aeroplane Over the Sea. It's like, it's kind of trying to compare like something like the Bends to an OK Computer or Kid A. It's just not the same type of music, but it's still really good to me.
I mean, I'd probably have to give it another chance.
Right.
It was like.
I mean, it's pretty grainy. The production values are definitely not as refined as Aeroplane in the slightest. You know what I mean? It's got a really kind of just fuzzy lo-fi kind of sound to it.
Yeah.
But some of the songs are amazing. Song Against Sex, which is just a straight up like gay anthem, starts it out. He played that live, which I thought was great. Let's see. There is Naomi, which, let me just say, the subject of matter of Naomi would fit right in with the Too Smart for Stranger special. Yeah, it's slightly disturbing. It's all about a kidnapped victim. Oh, God. Let's see. What else is there? There's April 8th. April 8th is special to me because I saw Jeff Mangum on April 9th, and I specifically asked him to play April 8th, and he kind of just shook his head and refused. And I was like, oh, man, you didn't like my request. Like, I wasn't trying to be funny. I was trying to be like, hey, Jeff, it's, April 8th. But whatever. Let's see. Other songs on that album. Oh, and then there's I don't know, just there's some really good ones. I mean, it's definitely not as refined as In the Aeroplane. In the Aeroplane is easily like a solid singular statement, whereas on Avery Island is like a bunch of fucking experimental tunes kind of crammed together. But it's still worth listening to. There's still some really solid stuff on there. And okay, final thought before we sign out for the night, Adventure Blue Dude.
Yes.
What, if anything, do you think would make Jeff Mangum want to come back and do a third Neutral Milk Hotel album?
I don't think anything would, knowing Jeff Mangum.
They're touring right now.
Well, yeah, they're touring, but he's probably doing it because people have been bitching about it for the past 15 years.
I don't think so. He came out of hiding because of Occupy Wall Street. That was his first show.
Yeah.
And from then, I really genuinely don't think this reunion tour is like, oh, hey, let's just do a big cash grab and please the fans. No, I think Mangum is touring for a reason. I think he feels that it's in him. I think there's a reason why Neutral Milk Hotel is back together and collaborating and actually playing music again in a live setting, and their tour is huge. It's been expanding all over the place, and yet it doesn't come to Northern California. Sad. But I digress. I still have my fingers crossed because they're just like literally, it's like every 2 weeks. It's like, freaking Neutral Milk Hotel tour dates expand. I'm like, oh, oh God, but
I mean, it'd be great to see them do a new album, but I'm not quite sure if they're going to.
I think if they're going to do a new album, they have to stay away from just making it a cash grab on trying to reclaim In the Aeroplane's former glory.
But I don't think they would.
I don't think they would either, but I'm just saying, like, stay away from stuff like like, oh, King of Carrot Flowers Part 4, Two-Headed Boy Part 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, stay away from any of those, like, direct callbacks. Like, I feel like a new Neutral Milk Hotel album has to be something, like, entirely different. Like, I'd even go as far as to say, stay away from any sort of World War II or Nazi or Anne Frank allegory entirely. You know what I mean? Just drop that subject matter. Just have something in, like, I'm thinking something having to do with, like, Occupy Wall Street and the 1% versus the 99%. Because he is very passionate about that cause, and I feel like it'd be interesting to see him do more of a political album. So, I don't know. Or maybe even a Jeff Mangum solo album that's kind of more geared on the political side. That would also be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. But in regards to Neutral Milk Hotel, I mean, they have built up just this incredible sort of universe in their music through just an album. I mean, other songs kind of complement it here and there, but really, in the Aeroplane is the big thing. So I feel like anything that they were to come along and record, and I definitely don't think it's out of the question that they are going to do a third one at some point. But anything that they come along and record, it's going to have to reach the same sort of level of inspiration that Mangum had for the Anne Frank subject. It's got to be something that's just absolutely near and dear to his heart, and something that he just can't let go of and keeps him up at night and fucking haunts his nightmares. and that's how we are going to get something that follows up to In the Airplane Over the Sea. So good luck with that, Jeff. Oh god. But no, in closing, it's like this album, it's special. I mean, that's just the only way I can describe it to me. It's just like, it is a retreat into into the highest of highs, the lowest of lows, you know what I mean? It's just everything. It's just an emotional tour de force. And I don't know, it might not be my #1 favorite album of all time, but it's sure as hell the one that I'm playing the most right now. It's like I could just listen to this thing every day and not get sick of it, because I have heard it an infinite amount of times, and I could still just hear it an infinite amount of times more. So yeah, I hope this video, kind of like our overall goal of this video was to sort of give a little bit of an in-depth sort of exploration into the lyrical content and themes of this album. So hopefully we did that okay. We weren't just grasping at straws. What do you think, AdvBlueDude? How did we do?
I think we did good.
Yeah, you think we did good? All right. Right on. Okay, everyone. So, AdvBlueDude, I would love to review Wax Fang next week. If you would already,
girl in all of America. Yes.
If you would have already reviewed Hazards of Love with me.
I knew you were going to say that, you bastard.
But since you haven't reviewed Hazards of Love with me yet, I'm sorry, but we have to do that. So get on it. Hazards of Love.
Okay.
Freaking hour-long rock opera. It's amazing.
Okay.
Tie in with Neutral Milk Hotel. And then after that, I promise we can do The Astronaut.
Yes.
All right.
My God, The Astronaut.
Yeah, but remember, with The Astronaut, we also have to listen to the really shitty new Hold Steady album in comparison.
No, do we really?
Yes, we do.
Oh, sad.
Because it'll be a compare and contrast of, like, here's a really good album and here's a really shitty album. It'll be interesting.
Flaming Lips don't have anything new, do they?
No, not that I'm... No, they had a really good one out last year, but I don't think they're doing anything this year, no.
Damn.
Yeah. But, no, Hold Steady. The shittiness shall be reviewed.
Hooray!
Woohoo! And yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. This is definitely, like I said, an album that's totally near and dear to my heart. Just a big artistic inspiration to me. Just put together so fantastically well. Not a missed not a missed second of pacing in this album. It just, it works on so many levels. Any last words on it, Adventure Blue Dude? Any last praise you want to heap on it?
Nothing that hasn't already been said. It's a wonderful album. It's simple, but in its simplicity is also immense complexity. And it's just a really great album.
It's like the Tetris of music. It's like it's the easiest thing in the world to get into, but you'll spend a lifetime trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So, all right, I just made a Tetris reference, so I think that's a good sign to end it on. So we hope you guys had fun with this video. I certainly enjoy talking about this album incessantly and kind of just giving my pet theories about what everything might mean. But again, it's worth noting that these are just our theories. The only man who truly knows what these songs mean are Jeff Mangum himself. And like we said, he's not talking anytime soon. So in the meantime, we hope you liked our half-assed sort of like, oh, well, what if this means this? What if this means this? So, yeah, it was fun. Wasn't it, Adventure Blue Dude?
Yeah, it was good. Yes.
All right. Well, have a good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.